Hey, Jessica.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
Well, we're excited to have you on talking about summer's canceled. Now what for younger kids? My gosh, are we all just taking a deep breath right now? Isn't it interesting how I feel like in every season that we're having to come to an acceptance of that season being closed, canceled, having to figure that out in our own spirit. Do you feel that way too?
I do. I was joking to someone recently that I feel like it almost is like an episode of 24. Like there's so much happens and things that you didn't think would ever be canceled or revamped or, you took for granted. It's been something. So, and I don't think it's completely over. We were chatting before we hit record. I feel like initially I thought, okay, this is a couple weird weeks, but like we'll get through it. You know, summer, of course, will be normal, quote unquote.
Totally.
And it's definitely looking like that is not going to be the case. I know it varies very much state to state. But I feel like as we're recording this, there's even a tendency to just kind of, we don't even know what it's going to be like as people are listening. We just surely don't, even in the fall, if they're, so we're all just learning as we go, aren't we?
Yeah,
Totally.
I think it is. It's the unknown that just, we want to plan things, but how do we plan? Because we don't know if things are going to be canceled. And when we say summer's canceled, we're being kind of tongue in cheek because obviously summer is happening. And that's
Right.
what we want to talk about is that we can still do things with our kids and we can still try to put ourselves in a position where we're flexible and nimble and yet have some structure in place so that our kids, if they need to be watched, that we kind of figure that out. But how can we change maybe the mode of operation from how we've done summer in the past? Because in my house, we had some things blocked off, vacations we were going to take, summer camp, the vacation's canceled. The summer camp, we're still waiting to find out if it's on. And so summer is going to happen. We just don't know what it's going to look like as far as what our options are going to be. So that's what we mean when we say summer is canceled. We know that God is still going to make it hot in Colorado in July and August, but we don't know if there are going to be any pools open. So how are we going to manage that? Those are the kinds of unknowns that just keep coming every minute, like just the pool thing. We drove by the pool a couple days ago that we normally go to, and I went, the pool might not open. Like nobody has said that, but just the thought of it's going to be 100 degrees in Denver in our concrete jungle and we may not have water.
Yes, you may be in your kiddie pool in the backyard.
Mm-hmm. We might
want to go ahead and swipe one of those off Walmart.com.
Yeah. That's right. So those are the things that we're trying. And I don't want to make it sound like that's the end of the world. It is not the end of the world that I'm not going to be able to go to my public pool. It's just an expectation change. And so how are we changing our expectations and how do we prepare for that nimbleness with our kids? We have to be able to be flexible.
I think you touched on something there because as I was thinking about our conversation, there's a lot of practical things we can talk about. And I think there's a time and place for that. But like elephant in the room is like, this is not a fun season. And it is going to be different. And, my first book is Memory Making Mom. So like, I'm all about making memories, making the best of things, having adventures. But I almost feel like this summer is like character building mom, which is so not as fun to say or do. But I think for me, where I find peace about this is first of all, just accepting this is a different season, it's a different gift, and it's not going to be fun. And I think that's a conversation, or not that it won't be fun, it can be fun, but that there are going to be parts about it that are intrinsically unpleasurable. They just are. And you can't sugarcoat it or slip and slide it enough. Like it is what it is, it stinks. And I think that's where not to get on too big of a tangent, but just, I do want to say for a minute or two, like, I feel very strongly that having perspective is key, because all of us having this conversation have lived, historically speaking, quite pampered lives. When you look about at the scope of history and you think about Abraham and Sarah, like, not to get like all like philosophical, but
No,
and
go
then
girl, do it.
pioneer,
Yes.
yeah, like pioneer ages, and I mean, gosh, any time period, our grandparents with the world wars and the depression, and so we have had a very cush existence, and we're not used to, and I'm not saying this, Alexandra, to you, but like the pool being closed, like that rocks our world. And I'm with you. It totally does. But I think step one is just realizing this isn't easy, but it's more common to humanity than not. And so it's our thing. And we're going to have to go through this. And it's not like, oh my goodness, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone in the history of time. Actually, it's quite normal, and actually even pretty mild considering some of the trauma that we could be going through. And so I'm saying this to tell myself, but I also feel like you have this conversation with your kids on whatever level they are, is when you sit them down and you say, and probably all of us have done this, a mini level, you say, this stinks, and I'm really sorry about, your overnight camp, in the woods. That's probably not going to happen. And I know you miss your friends, and it's okay to be sad about that, but we can get through this. And character is being strong when things are hard. And I believe that we can do this. And that doesn't mean that it's easy. It's not easy, but we can have character. We can be strong. And there's a million different angles you can take of that, of inspiring. I think literature, I've been talking for too long, so I'm going to stop. But that was my first point.
Yeah.
I love it. I've actually been laughing so hard at those memes that say, your grandparents went to war. All you're being asked to do is stay home. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, and it's funny, but it's also a little bit perspective bringing. Like, oh yeah, there were much harder things than what works. I mean, I don't want to minimize the hard, because everyone's hard is, that's the reality, and they're hard, and that's okay. But I think there is a little bit of, let's go to 30,000 feet and let's look at a little more historical perspective of this time and realize that this isn't new, that hard things in history have always cycled and happened. In fact, my kid's history teacher was talking about this just last year, saying there will be something coming. He was almost predicting in an interesting way, because look at history. And every so many years, there's something big that comes and kind of like shakes up humanity. And interestingly, it did happen. And so this is our heart. So I love the idea of perspective. So starting with having those talks with your kids, can you think of anything else that we can do as a family or as an individual to just help with that perspective bringing and maybe bringing positive, fresh light to the situation?
I absolutely can, and it has made a huge impact on me, and that is to read stories of people who have gone through hard things. And maybe we reinstitute, an afternoon reading hour, which I know sounds like the weirdest thing ever to add to summer, but we're not going to have too much else to do possibly. So here's my vote to maybe consider that. We read a lot this year of Laura Ingalls Wilder, and my goodness, they were stuck, the Long Winter book, they were stuck in the house for 6 months, couldn't do anything. I mean, literally stuck. And so I think when you hear those stories, it reminds you that other people have been through hard things, and so you can dig down deep and also do that.
That's a great idea.
Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
It's a great idea. I think it's, and we don't have to use fiction either, because there are kids in our own communities and kids in parts of the world. I mean, I just saw a news story this week that kids in Spain were let outside for the first time for 1 hour to play after 6 weeks. They have been locked in their homes. And for many of them, they live in apartments. So they just, the access to the outside. So even my younger kids to say, wow, just think this whole time we've been home, some kids in other places haven't been able to go outside. And what a gift it is that we still have the ability to go outside. So I think that combination of fiction, because that's, I mean, especially if it's historical fiction, gives us time and place and people to relate to, but we can also relate it to people that are living through the pandemic, but in different circumstances.
Where do
Yeah,
you
that's
tend to find the books that you really like to read out loud?
I think that Read Aloud Revival, Sarah McKenzie has a list of hardship. I think she has something on topic that she's just released. But I mean, honestly, you don't need a ton, because if you, I mean, those Little House on the Prairie books are great. We read one about a girl in an iron lung who had polio, Small Steps, and that was a super easy read. I can link a couple more that you guys could share, but I would suggest looking to Read Aloud Revival, or asking on your mom groups. There's so many. The Hiding Place is amazing for older kids. But so much of good literature is overcoming adversity. So it's going to
So
take
true.
you out of your own zone, and it can't help but encourage you throughout your day to day.
Yep.
So I
couldn't
would
agree more.
absolutely do that. That's a no-brainer to be reading, and like Alexandra said, to just have open eyes for the stories around you of hardship.
It's great. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how we're going to pivot with younger kids. So maybe, we had all these things lined up, vacations and camps and different things they were going to do. And now a lot of those aren't happening. What would you recommend, Jessica, for how we can pivot and approach our time differently, and even getting into some practicals here?
Yeah, so I do have practicals, but I will say quickly, I think you can't disregard how the mom is you set the tone. The parents in general set the tone. And so I got to work out my junk inside first, because there's no use in having, popsicle sticks and water beads and all these things here. If I'm stressed and tense inside, I'm projecting that. And now that's not to say we have to be perfect. We don't, and we're struggling too. But I think we need to realize that even I can have my moments. We can talk to our friends and our spouse and vent. But when we are interacting with our kids, we need to, as much as we can, convey positivity and make the best of it, and creativity, optimism. So that you have to keep that in mind. But as far as practically what it looks like, I mean, we're all just learning, I feel like, as we go. And there's new resources every week where people are putting together, like, what can we do? What can we do? I mean, some things, everybody's doing FaceTime a lot more, and we've played little, I called it FaceTime Race Time, and it was like a scavenger hunt. So, I would say first person to find me something red or something ugly or whatever. I mean, that's just like a silly thing. But it just spiced up the day a little bit. I think having a routine is huge, and I don't know if you were going to touch on this later, but when you're looking at being inside or in the same spot for a good chunk of the time, that's absolutely a must. And even for people who aren't naturally routine kind of people, I think we're all going to slowly realize we're going to need some of that. And so I could talk about that real quick. I don't know if I'm getting off
Yeah,
topic.
go ahead,
but
and even use your own as an example. We'd love to hear what you do.
So right now we homeschool, and so we're in a school mode. And so I am also interested to see how I will change things in the summer, but you can still follow the same routine. So I feel like all of us need, and we forget this about our kids, all of us need something productive to do to feel good about life. And that includes the very youngest kids. And so it's going to get old real fast if we're just trying to entertain people 24/7 throughout 6 months. I mean, so the first thing, you've heard like the eat your frog, like do the worst thing first. We are going to do something productive together every day. So right now we do school and a chore, but in the summer, I think this is an ideal opportunity to begin teaching our kids to work. And no, it's not the sexiest thing ever. And like, there may not be thrilled, but that's so important. And I would say equally as important as making the memories, right? It really is. They don't need to think they're the center of the world and we're entertaining. They're important. And you look again, like I know I've mentioned the Little House on the Prairie, but even the youngest children were relied on in the home for help. And so for them to know, like, if I don't put away the silverware, that really helps mommy. I'm a help. And for us to praise them, like, look how you folded all those napkins. Thank you so much. You're such a good helper. And so first thing I would do out of the gate, whatever you decide, like, just let's be real specific here. I would put a date on the calendar that's going to be the beginning of your summer. Okay. Your newly advanced, newly defined summer. So you pick that date and we're not going to slide into it. We're going to start it with intentionality. So until then, give them a week to like do their stuff and just be annoying and, get it out of their system. But your summer is starting, whatever, let's say June 15th. Okay. Mm-hmm. June 15th is our summer. We're going to have a family meeting and I'm going to let them know I'm going to set the tone for how the home is going to go. And I'm going to say, listen, I'm as bummed as you are, maybe more, and you'll realize one day about all of the things. About all the things that we can't do. And that's sad, and sympathize with them. But we're having a different kind of summer. And here's how things are going to go. And that doesn't mean that you can't be frustrated, but this is our home and here's what we're going to do. We're going to have some fun, but we're also going to work. And so this summer, and then you start assigning, like, here's your roles, and you can always just break out a piece of poster board. And, my mom always did that, and we would laugh because we were like, this will last 2 weeks. And guess who does it all the time?
Totally.
But anyway, put it in a system. So, okay, here's what you're going to do first every day. And I would have the same routine things they're going to do every day. And then I'd mix it up. And whatever you think, whatever your instinct is to give them to do, you're probably going to need to double that, because I think we don't give our kids enough credit, and they're capable of more and they need to do more. It's good for them. So the first half of the day, so the first, let them squirrel around before breakfast, but then after breakfast, they're going to work. And the biggest piece of advice that I can say is to give them things that are actually helpful to you. Because for a while I was like trying to think of like, wash up, you can wipe off the knobs on that. Like, no, that's not helpful. And like, they need to feel like, what would actually be helpful to me right now? Well, I need the floor swept. Guess what? Probably if your kid is over, I would say 4, okay? They can probably, manage something like that. So you're going to give them their jobs. And then we always, after lunch, have like some downtime, inside time. And I think that's really conducive for, I feel like I've been talking so much. Do y'all have anything you were going to ask or say? We're at lunch here.
Okay, finish that thought.
So after lunch, I think it's hot. Everybody's grumpy. They've hypothetically been working for quite some time. So we do downtime. And I firmly believe in having everybody goes to their quadrants and they're quiet, but they're doing something a little bit life-giving to them. And so I always play something and give them something to do. So that means nothing more complicated than I'll put on an audiobook. Right now there's tons on Hoopla, or, honestly, Adventures in Odyssey is amazing, and you can download their app. I think if you have the money, that is really worth it, because those stories are awesome. So you play something,
and it is. I was going to say it is free right now for 4 weeks. They're doing a 4-week free trial.
It is. Oh, yes. we that's already over for us because we used it right away. So I'm like, now we have to buy it.
Yes.
But I do think it's worth it.
It is worth it. The hours of entertainment my kids get out of $15 a month, it is worth it.
Yeah, you think so? I think I'm going to do it.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Well, and it engages the imagination. I mean, they really have done studies that show that listening to audiobooks, as opposed to a screen, like, because some people are like, well, how is it different than them watching a story on a screen? It actually is in the brain. It's completely different. And so I think that's that's really helpful for parents to know, that it does engage that more imaginative side of the brain that's helpful, and that thinking side that is very different than screens. So yay.
And on that note, it is different, and it's different the way kids experience it, and they may not be jumping up and down if they've been used to having a lot of screen time. They might be itching by that point in the day to go play their games or have their pad or whatever. And I'd like to address that. I feel like, that's such a very personal issue, and people are, have very different, standards, I guess, of what they want. But what I would say is, if you in your heart are wanting to make a change in that area and you feel like it's been too much, I would just encourage that mom or dad, you are in charge of your home. And if that is an area you would like to change, you're in luck, because you can change it.
Because you're in charge. Yeah.
Yes. And that doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but we've done this, not with this particular arena, but in other things where I say, listen, I know I let you, well, we had to do it during the quarantine. I know I've been letting you play in people's yards, but I'm sorry, I have new information now and I've changed my mind. And you are free to be upset, but this is our home. We pay for things. We love you. We care for you. You have everything you need, and we're making a change. And anyone can do that. And I think if you're looking at your summer and you're feeling like, I don't want to be like my kids on the screens all the time, but I don't know exactly how to change it, I would direct you to Melanie Hempy. I think Hempy, is that how you say her name? I'll link you her website, but she has something called Screen Strong Challenge for families, where she helps them kind of detox, I guess. And so I used her reference in my book, as she was just really instrumental in helping me understand how you can do that. But you can do that. That's what you need to know. Because I get that for a lot of families, the idea of working in the morning and then listening to an audiobook is like, what in the world language are you speaking? Mm-hmm. But you can make that change if you want.
And it's so important. It's so important that we do.
It's so important. It
our
is.
Kids get way too much screen time in general.
And I'm not against it totally, but you're right.
Okay, so I do want to talk about not just kind of surviving, but really making memories and I do feel like this extra time that we have with our people is allowing us to make some really special memories that we wouldn't otherwise. And so, can we talk about making memories with younger kids and what that might look like this summer?
Yes. So I think I would like to talk about, and I kind of did this in Memory Making Mom, like the everyday memories, and then there's like the specials. And the specials is what has been taken from us. Sounds strong, but kind of, right? Like that's what we're mourning the loss of, is like some of these reunions and Disney cruises and blah, blah, blah. So, but when you talk about making memories, I remember a lot the ordinary things in my home. And this was one thing I actually did, again, for the third time, reference Laura Ingalls Wilder.
You can talk about Little House on the Prairie all you want. You're just... This is a number one fan right here. So go ahead.
Okay, good. Funny. Well, I realized how special food was to them because they didn't have a lot else to look forward to. Like it was a bit, not in a sad way, I guess, but so I found us a lot doing special food things, and we have some traditions in our home. Like we always have Saturday morning pancakes, and so that's become, I guess, more precious, like, because we'll linger longer and we don't have anything else the rest of the day. So those anchors kind of in our week. We also the kids have what they call Friday, where they have like fried food, chicken and, it's baked in the oven, but you know what I'm saying? Fried
That's
chicken
really
and something they like. Yes.
Yeah,
and
that's
Todd
adorable.
and I have takeout and have a date night. That's become very special. We've been doing frozen pizza and a glass of wine, but still very special. But anyway, what else do we do that's special? We usually have like some family dinner. I guess I'm just trying to make things that are a little more interesting, and we're all enjoying that. And so that's a memory. It sounds a little lame, but I think our kids, that's important to them. You make donuts together and all eat them on the back porch, or make strawberry shortcake. And I think it's worth the time and effort that we put into it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I guess the everyday encouragement. And, game nights, which some games I'm like, oh, I really don't feel up to this right now. But if you can find some that you all enjoy, that's memories, and that is filling their tank right there. So somebody told me they had a standing movie night every week, family movie night. And they were all looking forward to that. They would, do the popcorn and have a carton of ice cream, whatever. And it was like Friday night was movie night. And then a standing game night. Like Wednesday, we're all gonna play Uno together. And I find that, for the 37 minutes it costs us, it fills their tank, and it's the one thing I lay on the bed at night and like, I'm so glad I did in the whole day. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just think about the game I played with my 8-year-old on Friday for school. It took me 20 minutes to watch a video, to get the supplies out. And I'm thinking, how am I spending my time doing this dumb Jack and the Beanstalk coin math game? But at the end of the day, then it took us just as long to play it. But the fact that it took me so long to figure it out, but then at the end of the day, that's really, for both that child and for me, the best thing that happened that day, because we were spending time together. And so I did it because I knew the teacher wanted us to, because we're doing remote school right now. But those are the kinds of things that there's not going to be anyone assigning me that over the summer. So I need to decide what are going to be the things that work with my 8-year-old, that fill her tank in a way that is unique. Okay, I think you covered the everyday, building some special markers into your week so that Monday doesn't feel like Wednesday and Thursday doesn't feel like Sunday. But what about creating some of those special, bigger things if we are at home and if we can't be with the people that we were planning to spend the summer with, like grandparents who live 2 states away? Are there some things that you could suggest for kids that could be maybe like we do a camp for a week where there's a special something that sets that week apart from the rest of the summer?
Yeah. I mean, it is just going to be sad. And I do hurt for the family, the grandparents. I've really hurt for that. There's not a FaceTime that's going to really fix that, because that is hard and sad. But I don't know if there's any grandparents listening, or if you have nieces and nephews that you just really love and you aren't going to see. My mother-in-law has always done an amazing job of mailing special little surprises to my kids. And as we all know, parents included, getting the mail has become one of the more exciting things that happen in the house. And so, you could put together a little kit. And my mother-in-law sends something almost every holiday. But, it's not the same, but it does mean something. And it is a way to bring joy to those that we love. So that would be one thing. And maybe, if you have a slew of cousins that you're missing, or friends, to put together a little care package that they can sanitize at their heart's content when they get it, would be kind of sweet. And, again, we're not going a lot of the fun places, and you can't sugarcoat that, but I think there's going to be a resurgence of camping. Have any of you guys done backyard camping? Gotten the tents out?
Yeah. I mean, yes, we do tons of backyard camping, and we backpack as well. So we have lots of camping because my husband is a total outdoorsman, and we also do hammocking. So I don't know if you know about hammocking.
No, tell me about this.
Well, it's big with teenagers and college age, but basically everybody has an Inu hammock or copycat Inu hammock. Inu was the first brand to make them, and they string their hammock somewhere either in the woods or off of 2 posts or something, and everybody hammocks. So It's really fun. It's basically
That
you sleep
sounds
under the
fun.
stars, you're off the ground. But the hammocks are the big deal. So we do hammocking nights too, where we all sleep outside in hammocks.
So now when you do this, how old are your kids? They do this as well?
Oh yeah. No, my kids are the ones driving it. So, and we do it camping. So like instead of sleeping in a tent, they'll bring their hammock and they'll sleep in their hammock instead of the tent. So
Okay, this
again, because
is new to
we're
me.
in the
I'm not cool
Northwest,
enough to
so
know
you
about
have
this.
to, you know, it's the Northwest. You got to make sure it's not going to rain on you. But summer is usually pretty nice, and so everybody can just bring their hammocks. And I still like to sleep in a tent, so we bring tents. But yeah, backyard camping is so great because, as we all know, camping is a major affair, right? And for the mom, it's a lot of work. And so
Yes.
what I like about backyard camping is we just actually set up a tent for the whole summer, and then anybody can sleep in the tent at any night. And we have friends. Well,
Wow.
if you're quarantining with people, if it's 10 people or under, we'll see what the summer
Yeah.
regulations are, whatever. But you can have people over, and it's such a great way to make memories because you can do s'mores right there too.
Well, I mean, I hate to be like the one trick pony, but like that really legitimately, like camping and hiking, I think is going to experience a tremendous resurgence because it is the one thing that we're going to be able to do. And so if you're not into the camping thing, we actually bought an RV camper last year. It was one of our family goals to begin, RV camping. And so I just said to my husband, as soon as they lift the park, as soon as the parks open up, I think we'll be there as frequently as we can. I mean, it's a great social distancing option. And for those who don't want to camp or, don't have those supplies, I think hikes and getting out in nature, that's just going to be our thing for this next chunk of time. We're just going to have to, it's going to be us and nature. And I don't think that's settling. I think that it is going to be, if we prioritize that, and maybe for your family it just looks like, okay, once a month we're putting this on the calendar, we're doing an adventure, we're going to go to this park, if you're just really kind of getting your toes wet with it. I think that when your kids look back on this season, they are going to love those memories, even if you really only do that a couple times. And it's a whole thing. I mean, it's never easy. Every time we do it, Let Them Be Kids, I don't know if you probably haven't had time to read it, or maybe, I don't know if you have had the book yet, but I talk about camping and how stressful it is for Todd and I to like set everything up, and how we always get in a fight. And it's like, we look at each other like, why do people do this? But then you get there and you set up, and it is worth it. It really and truly is worth
Mhm.
the work. Whether it's a little day hike and you've packed people up and they're, crying and having tantrums, you will still look back and be like, I'm so glad we did that.
No, it's true. And I say this is one of my mantras. Anything worth doing is a challenge. It's just because things that are worth doing are a challenge. So we just have to remember that and say that to ourselves all the time, because I agree with you. It's not only so worth it, it's pivotal to our kids' childhood memories and how they start to develop that idea and identity of family.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about food a little bit, because we, just like now, are feeding people a lot in the summer. And so how do you approach food prep and planning?
I tend to be more plan oriented than the average person maybe, but actually my sister is, I think, the pinnacle of this, and they literally eat the same 7 meals every week. But she's like, this is what we like. And so Monday is grilled chicken, and Tuesday is hamburgers, and Thursday is, tacos. And so she has the same like Walmart order that she just resubmits every week. And part of me is like,
Wow,
that's kind of
that's
brilliant.
impressive. That's super impressive.
It takes the
I
decision making out. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're trying to lower the number of decisions you make every day, that's one decision you're not making.
Right. So, and you can do, you've seen the variations, like you could just do like soup one day, or, some sort of pasta, some sort of meat. Um, but I think that's been a help to me to kind of like, we don't do it quite as regimented, but ours is pretty there's some rhythm, there's some patterns. And so I decide every week what we're having through the week and order. And I can't imagine having to like at 4:30 think what is for dinner. That to me sounds terrible. But I know
Yeah.
there's different personalities out there. If it's stressing you out, that's what I would suggest every week. And what I did is I made a long list in a Word document of like every meal we love. And so I sit down, I do it actually on Thursdays, and I just look at that list and pick 7 of them and slap them down and then order everything we need. I've been doing delivery during this season, which is an amazing option that we have, but I'm getting pretty used to it, so I may actually stick with it. So, and then we don't leave, we don't go anywhere. I mean, even in not quarantine, that's it. We go one time and, have everything we need. So it was also a huge game changer when my kids started making their own lunches. So I did like a little bin in there of like, here's their cheese sticks and here's your granola bar and here's a fruit. And so I put a chart on the refrigerator. Here's how you make your lunch. Choose a protein. And it had like hard-boiled egg. And so my kids are 10, 8, and 5, or they were when I started this, but even the 5-year-old was able to do this, which was amazing. I mean, I would, sometimes like help her scoop the hummus or whatever it was, but here's your protein. Well, you can have egg, hummus, meat, cheese, and you just choose one of that category. Here's your carb. Here's what vegetable do you want? And so that, oh my goodness, because prior to that, I was literally making, food the entire day. So,
I kind of do that with dinner planning. Like I have proteins. What meat do we want? What carb do we want? What vegetable do we want? Because I go to Costco and I just buy bulk. So I don't have the menu plan, but I know these are the things we like. And then at 4:00, I am saying, what do we want for dinner? But it's kind of that formula. It's not very exciting, but my husband is a meat eater. So we do know that we're going to have meat at every meal. And so I kind of go by that almost every meal.
Funny.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Why not?
Yeah.
The chart.
It's balanced.
I've gotten in this little, I somehow became a vegetarian in 2020, and my husband is so over it. And I made a minestrone soup, and he's like fishing through there. What's in here? I was like, no, there's not any meat, and I'm very sorry. And I know you're very disappointed about this.
Yeah.
So, but I'm like, once every 2 weeks, you'll be all right with some beans.
Wow, there's a story there. An accidental vegetarian, but that's for another time.
Yeah, briefly, go ahead. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jessica.
I just read a book about someone fighting cancer and how meat is not the best for you. So my Enneagram 6 jumped to the rescue. I don't know if you read. So real healthy, makes a lot of sense.
Well, Jessica, this has been really great. Is there anything that we didn't cover and that you just want to talk about before we let you go today?
I thought it might be helpful if I just run through like a list of non-screen things that my kids do. Do you think that would be like just real quick, rattle them off if you need ideas? So this is like, I want you to be doing something productive. And what I want to say is I make my kids do this sometimes. I will say, you have to do this for 10 minutes. And 9 times out of 10, they're still doing it after 10 minutes. But, because if you ask a kid, like, do you want to play with Play-Doh? A lot of times they're going to be like, no, I don't. But I just make them.
Right.
So yeah, besides Play-Doh, I'll just run through things we love. My son has been teaching himself how to play guitar. Fender online opened up all of their guitar lessons for the summer. Have you guys read or watched any of the Cincinnati Zoo animal videos? Amazing.
Yes. Yeah, amazing.
It's so good. Yeah, so that's a real fun, I guess that is technically a screen, but it feels educational. Art Hub for Kids, have your kids do that? They are so good. Those videos are incredible. Cosmic Kids Yoga, I guess these are a lot of screens, but you know what I mean.
But they're still doing things with it, so no, it's helpful.
Yes, exactly. It's an interactive. So yeah, we love Art Hub for Kids, and Cosmic Kids Yoga is really cute. Kiwi and Tinker Crates, they are a monthly subscription service, and you build things. We have the tinker, and I would say like probably age 9 and up is good for that. And there's I would also just say like maybe have a summer reading contest with the whole family, and every person who reads 10 books gets to buy themselves a new book on Amazon, and parents included, to set the example. So yeah, I mentioned Adventures in Odyssey. Those were just a couple little random ideas if you were looking for something.
I love it, Jessica. So great. Well, thank you so much. And we have absolutely loved having you. We will link to both of your books in our show notes today for parents who can resource those. And we just so appreciate your voice in the world. Thank you.
Thanks for having me on.
All right. Take care. Happy summer.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.